sulfur is unique. Sulfur, though we prescribe it regularly, it is unique. We may not be differentiating so carefully, but it is still differentiated and it is unique. It is different from arsenicum. It is different from phosphorus. It is different from many other medicines that have burnings. The modality, the hot patient has burnings and is craving for warm things, hot food, hot water. And then you see that the patient has unique mental image. What I described was a mental image. Now, there is an emotional image. All three are different in the emotional plane, arsenicum, phosphorus, and sulfur. But in the mental plane also, they are different. In the mental plane, mental means about the intellectual abilities. And in the mental plane, what happens? Arsenicum, phosphorus would have a lot of details, but everything will be scattered, diffused, completely scattered, and they cannot get the head of or tail of anything. They cannot think coherently, they cannot comprehend, and they will start something and then they will stop it midway. They don't even want to go to the depths of it and understand if there is something that, some thread that binds all these details together. If there is some, that much shallow they are in their intellect. Though they are bright, they grasp everything quickly, they are bright, they comprehend things. And there is a phosphorus who does not comprehend things also. Of course, we have variants, but they comprehend things, but the problem is they cannot go into that intricacy of, differentiating, analyzing, theorizing, and reaching that final conclusion. So I have seen many phosphorus guys studying, doing theology or maybe deeper philosophical studies. And I'm intrigued because they have many other talents. They should be investing in other talents. They're artistic, and they are outgoing and they're extroverts, and they can influence a lot of people. That is what they should be doing instead of going into those deep philosophical discussions which may not suit them. They would never go into the depths of these things, and they would come up with something superficial and just want to get through with some decent points or marks. And then that would be the result in the academia. If these people are present, they would not be big contributors. They would maybe take something from here and there and then teach others. Maybe that's all what they could do. They cannot kind of construct a new thing. They cannot come up with original ideas and thoughts, though they may be sensitive to a lot of impressions. Phosphorus is very sensitive to impressions. They are very quick to understand what's going on and to respond to it in an amicable manner, like in a friendly way, not in an offensive manner. Emotionally, they are they know their thing. They are empathetic listeners, but mentally, they do not have it in them to do those kind of deep studies. But we find many of these people qualified because these days, people are looking for dynamic people to be in the classrooms. This dynamic person may be scattered and superficial. It doesn't matter. As long as it seems they're contributing. They would never go into the depths of the things, never want to analyze anything deeply, evaluate anything deeply, find comparisons or do a deeper study. They don't have that. It's a kind of ADHD remedy. They don't have that patience to do it. That is phosphorus. So this is the mental picture of phosphorus. But when you come to arsenicum album is a bit more able in that area. But the problem is they would get all the details and they would get lost in the details. They would just collect all the details. So there will be a lot of details. And if you have given a case of arsenicum to your colleague who himself or herself is an arsenicum, they would come up with lots and lots of details of the arsenicum case. but they would not be able to find out the common thread, the genius, or the main point that would lead you into that prescription. To be like, every point is significant, every point is important. What's going on? What is wrong? I mean, they don't know which symptom should be given more emphasis. And what are the things that would come together like a necklace of pearls? They would have a lot of pearls, but they don't know how to make a necklace because a thread is required. But then you get a sulfur case, and sulfur would be like sitting and watching and watching and sitting and observing and studying deeply, and they won't come up with an answer quickly. They will just go and do various kinds of analysis, and eventually when they present this thing, it would be like, well, this is the thing, and this is the one particular strand that binds the whole thing together. Now, these are the healthier versions of phosphorus, arsenicum, and sulfur that I'm talking about. But there are sick people who need these medicines. But when it happens in a sick person, it is like, some sick people, what happens to them is they will just theorize anything, come up with many kinds of philosophies and theories, but they are sick. These theories and philosophies don't actually have any basis. And their picture is not coherent. Their picture is not consistent. There is no logic. But they feel there is some logic. It's like, somebody connecting the first letter of all the words and then forming some particular theory out of it, which doesn't make any sense to us. It's not going to solve the problem of the universe. It's not going to solve the problem of the origin of the universe or the problem of the collapse of the universe. It doesn't solve any problem related to medical things or things pertaining to your church or your community or your city. But they feel it is significant, to see the newspaper, and they would come up with so many things, this paper has some conspiracy going on behind the scenes. Of course, every paper, every newspaper has a bias. But these people would be just focusing on finding out that conspiracy, the inner message. Phosphorus would not so much delve into those things, and they would just look at the news. The news is the main point, and the main point would be the same in many newspapers, and that's all what they need. And different points of view would be there always. They appreciate it, but they would not have a point of view. If they are with one point of view, they would go with the flow. And if they are with the other point of view, they would go with that flow. But arsenicum is like, so many point of views are there. How to arrange these things, I do not know. They want that arrangements to come, but they do not know how to do it. Sulphur would know how to do it, but the problem here is, when they are sick, sulphur patients would find conspiracies that don't exist, that are illogical, that have no basis, but they would find it because they are looking for that cause, that one cause. So that is how you would see many sulfurs when you are in your practice. You would come with the patient, and the patient would describe their many symptoms, and then they would connect all these symptoms, and then they would come up with an imaginary cause, and this is the cause of all these things, and you would be amazed, like how. But then you start thinking, when they come up with other symptoms like hot patient, desire, warm drinks, sometimes cold drinks, and desire for sweets, which is very high in sulfur, desire for spicy foods, highly seasoned food is the rubric given in Kent's repertory. If you are confused about spicy food, where do we find spicy food? Highly seasoned food is what you should look at. And then desire for meat, a little bit. Fish they don't like too much, but okay, a little bit. Then they have other symptoms of sulfur, like no sound sleep, cat nap sleep. Sleeping like a cat. They would sleep for some time, then wake up suddenly. Usually it happens with a panic. Panic attacks are very common in a sulfur patient. So they would see a dream. They are very dreamy. Many dreams are pleasant dreams, but there are horrible dreams, horrific dreams of death and deadly consequences also. But when they come out of that sleep, they would be coming up with a panic, and they want their doors and windows to be opened. They feel hot, they feel sweaty, and they feel as if something wrong is happening. Something wrong may happen to them. Something bad may happen to them. And they have a diarrhea early in the morning, 5 o'clock. It's like, patient has to come out of the bed and just rush into the toilet. If somebody there, it's a very difficult situation for sulfur. And it would be like a loose stool. And they have all kinds of itching eruptions. And the main point of the itching eruptions is the itching is followed by scratching. The patient cannot resist. They would have to scratch. They would scratch, and then this becomes, they scratch until it bleeds. And burning comes. And the burning will be there too. Scratch until it bleeds and it burns. It can happen anywhere in the body. And redness. Redness means very, very wet. Every orifice would be red. Eyes, red. Nose, red. Mouth, red. Anus, red. Hemorrhoids is very common. It is there for phosphorus, arsenicum, and sulfur. All three have burning piles. Arsenicum is relieved by warm application, it seems. Sulfur is relieved by cold applications. Phosphorus has bleeding piles. Now, this is how the things are. Phosphorus has bleeding piles and the blood would be bright red. Sulfur is usually preceded by, like, before you reach sulfur, usually you would come up with some acute remedy for the patient. And nux vomica is a very common thing. Nux vomica and sulfur both are angry people. And as I said, nux vomica, like sulfur, would want to find the main point. But they are more skillful than sulfur. Sulfur is like, they would keep theorizing, keep philosophizing. There would be no end to it. But nux vomica is like a very skillful leader. A nux vomica can develop into a sulfur. Both sulfur and nux vomica are egoistical. But sulfur is a kind of like very selfish and idealistic. Nux vomica is more practical. Nux vomica is selfish, bossy, but they are more practical. So they would look at these, suppose you give them the newspaper, they would look at the 5 different points of view, and they would quickly come up with the 5 points, or maybe 3 points, or 2 points, which would be the main points of everything. And then they would have their point of view and they would explain. And nux vomica is like, they know the thing. They are in control of their thing. And they would come up with those 3 or 4 significant or 5 points, and they would be able to express it, articulate it very well. And nux vomica may develop into sulfur because nux vomica is generally a short-acting medicine and a medicine that is suitable for workaholic and alcoholic. If you're a workaholic, it is likely that you would depend on some stimulant to keep you awake. And usual stimulants are alcohol and maybe tea or coffee or something like that. So a nux vomica patient would also have some digestive complaints because they have a habit of sitting and reading and doing things. And also they drink a lot of stimulants. And if they have these sedentary habits and addiction to stimulants, what happens? Their gastrointestinal tract gets affected. And there is a unique symptom that distinguishes nux vomica from many other medicines. And what is that? Frequent yet ineffectual desire. frequently they want to go to the bathroom, but it's an ineffectual. Nothing will come out. It's like, nature is playing a trick on their mind because they are busy, workaholic. They don't have time, workaholic and alcoholic. They always keep themselves busy and occupied. So the nature is kind of like, you better get up and go to the bathroom. And they go to